Coach, you have said all along that you weren't really sure, just because of the lay of the land, what to expect on Wednesday. I'm curious as if that has changed in the last few days with how things have gone.
Well, I think the good thing is Friday was the first day that we had enough people to go play 5-on-5 in 17 days. So in a way, it's obviously it's helped us because that's how you got to play the game. But at the same time, it's a little scary because you realize how much stuff you haven't gone through. I thought about it today. If somebody plays a 1-3-1 zone, or we've been trying to get press offense and things like that. Those are things we didn't do at the beginning because you were kind of building your groups and that, and then all of a sudden now you don't have 10 players, you don't have your managers, you don't have your grad assistants, so it's tough to kind of simulate some of that stuff. So I'm happy we had Thursday mostly, for the most part, 10 guys. We tried to be careful with a couple of them just came back. And then Friday, Saturday. So you got a little more rhythm, got to play together a little more. We scrimmaged a little more on Saturday. We couldn't get officials here because they're trying to quarantine the officials. So they're big week with a lot of games starting. So the officials will be very, very important to us having games and them being COVID free also. I still don't know. I've told many people and talked to other coaches. I think a lot of them are in the same boat. Just don't know how your team's going to react. You just hope you've done enough with them and they step up and make some plays.
How comfortable would you be right now with, or is it unrealistic to think that you have some sort of rotation in mind? How does that work for you?
Well, I kind of teased Rudy before, because it was a little overwhelming, and I just told him, Rudy, you have no choice but to play. We only have, at that time, we only had 4 guards. So, yeah. Now you got Selton back, so you have 5. So they're going to play. But I think I have a feel of who we've talked about starting to build roles, starting to build our team, starting to build trust. Trust, as teammates playing with each other, but also building the trust of the coaches. And we have a good feel, but we haven't had, that's what the exhibition games and scrimmages would have been about, kind of putting those in. We're going to have to just kind of play it by ear. I'm a little bit afraid of foul trouble because we had officials one game or one day, but we haven't had, the coaches will ref, but it's harder to do it on a daily basis. And our guy, I just don't want somebody to get fouls right away and have to sit out. So now your rotation has changed even more. So, but I think I have a good feel, as long as we have everybody there, and then we'll just see how foul trouble goes and how guys play. But I really want to get some guys opportunities if we can, just a couple minutes here or there, because we're going to need everybody as it moves forward.
I guess finally for me, I'd like to ask you about just how much you are leaning on Dejan and Mike in terms of knowledge of what's going on, how things are done here, just what you guys do on and off the floor, I guess.
I think it started back in May when they arrived there early. And then when, Selton came, and then Rudy and Casey, and then the whole group. But I think they set the tone for the culture and the work ethic. And again, they're not perfect by any means, but you heard Dejan talk about Mike wants to win. And that's, both of them want to win. They want to do well as individuals. Everyone has a little bit of an ego and they want it. But they've really focused on trying to get the guys to buy in. We have a good group. They get along. They enjoy each other. And I think they have the right mindset. Now we'll see how we've dealt with adversity because of the COVID and the, different things we've had to deal with, not being here, small groups, all the stuff they've had to go on through. But adversity in a game where somebody makes a run or, things go against you, the ball doesn't bounce your way. Now, how are we going to step up? And that'll be the true test, I think, of leadership. Mike, Dejan, Casey, Nigel, whoever might be the guy stepping up.
Bruce, do you have an idea right now? Do you know who your starting five will be for the game?
I got to wait and see how a couple of injuries play out here the next couple of days before I make a decision. I know what I'd like it to be, but I'm not sure, exactly what it'll be because we've had some guys with some injuries, some guys that have sat out, and so we'll see what happens here in practice today and tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Coach, just to jump off of that question, who's been the player that's missed the most time during practices and workouts besides Luke Kazubkiev, obviously?
Yeah, Luke has missed the most. Carlton is next. He's had a back issue, just starting to get him back. And then we had some guys involved with contact tracing and the COVID. And, Surrey's missed some. Selton missed some. Drew Onus, our walk-ons, missed some. So we've had guys in and out, and Casey's missed a little bit as of late, and so we'll just have to see, play it by ear.
And then I feel like we talked about this last week, but just again, can you preview Drake for us and give us a little rundown of what you expect on Wednesday? A
really good experienced point guard. I think preseason all Missouri Valley. They won 20 games. A good offensive team. Their big kid was an integral part and would have been back, transferred to Minnesota, but they did bring in a big player transferred in, I believe, Seton Hall. They also have a grad transfer from UW Green Bay. I talked to my former player, Link Darner, who was the head coach, and recruited him, said he's very, very athletic, talented, can make kind of a slasher rebounder. So gives them another older player. They get a couple guys that can really shoot the basketball. They're a pretty well-balanced team and had played well in the Missouri Valley tournament. And, it's both them and Colorado both have experienced point guards. And I would say that would be the one spot we have the least experience. So it's a little bit scary for us, but we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Coach. Excited to see you guys out there this week.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Hey, Bruce, can you tell me what some reasonable expectations might be for Dejan just right away as a freshman?
Well, he's going to, I don't want to put too much pressure on him. I've said he's maybe been the biggest surprise on some of the things he's done. Good hands, catches the ball. I think his footwork is the biggest thing, kind of, get in traffic, being able to keep his balance and still be able to manipulate and score. So that's important for him. But I think he, if he can guard ball screens, if he can get out and do some of that, and he's gotten better at it, I think he can be a really good player for us. I think the future is really bright for him because, one, he's a great young man. He's got good personality. He's got a big heart, been through a lot himself, and he wants to be a good player. So I think it's ironic. A couple of our guys, a lot of times you worry about they're too confident. I think one, in Davian's case and a couple of our other guys, we almost have to, give them confidence, make them realize that they are good players and they're going to be okay.
And this tournament, the Little Apple Classic, was this your idea, or how did that get hatched from the beginning?
Yeah, it pretty much was my idea. Initially, I called, we wanted teams close, obviously, to give us the best chance. You've seen a lot of tournaments cancel, a lot of teams cancel. We thought that was our best opportunity, especially even late if we, had to, add a team or something, if we had teams close, or even change it where teams are busing here. So I talked to Tad about going to Colorado. He was trying to get Northern Colorado Air Force and us. A couple things didn't work out, and then we kept making calls, and it just worked out with, Drake, and then obviously South Dakota replacing South Dakota State. But, for our young team, and we don't have fans, but still good for them. The comfort zone of playing at home. You got your first 5 at home. Obviously, they're not like any real cupcakes in that schedule. And with a young team, new team like this, and what we've been through with practice, I don't feel comfortable with anything. But it's much better to start with the first 5 at home than it is going on the road. That's for sure.
All right. Thanks, Bruce. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach. Chucky Kemp. I'll be with Tim Welsh this week for your guys' games. I'm just curious. I watched Niwel Pack a little bit, just some highlights from his high school days. It just looks like a kid who really is comfortable with the ball and can kind of control things. Have you seen that from him early on?
Yeah, there's no doubt. And again, just like Dejan, I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but he's a very, very good player. He's very knowledgeable, very skilled. I mentioned earlier I was on a radio thing earlier this morning. I was in Indiana for a long time at Purdue, 18 years, and, recruited there coming out when I was at Southern Illinois and Illinois. But there is something about Hoosier basketball, the fundamentals, understanding a game, the coaching. And he's definitely has a lot of that. And the thing that surprised me is he's strong. He's on the bench press. He's one of our better guys. He ran a 5-minute mile, which is really, really impressive. And so he's got endurance. He's got strength. He's got good fundamentals, good skills. He can play with the ball and without the ball. He can run off screens and shoot, and he can also, make some plays with the ball. Just a triple-double in EYBL, I think first time in history. There's been a pretty good players coming through that Nike tournament. So it's a mouthful. And that same tournament, I think he had 4 double-doubles last year in that when he was coming into his senior year. And another one was almost close to another triple-double. So really good player. We expect a lot out of him, but at the same time, he's a freshman, and we'll see how he deals with all of this.
I look at last year, and obviously a disappointing year for you guys, but almost a transition year from my standpoint that, you just lost that big trio, which is so hard to replace, impossible to replace. You have a tough season, but now you kind of lost some of those other guys. You get some more freshmen in here, some of those sophomores with experience. It feels like this is the year that you can really head in a new direction for Kansas State. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I talked earlier about the culture. It's been great. They're happy to be here. They're happy to have an opportunity to play. They've really bought in. Our older guys, the returning guys, have done a great job of making sure we have the discipline and the work ethic. And again, they're not perfect, and there's days I get mad at them. 30 days of practice, that's a long grind without any scrimmages or anything. But they've been good, and I really feel we have the makings with the young group of keeping them together. We got everyone back, except definitely for 2 years if Mike comes back next year, and then we could have everybody except Mike for 3 years. So you got to, I think you have a good group to build with, and they all seem to enjoy each other and want to be part of something special.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck this week.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, Coach. Missy Heydrich, how are you?
Okay, Missy.
I know it's been with the 30 days of practice, but you haven't had everybody, and it's been tough to see having them come in. So do you feel like what you've been able to put in for these first 2 games is pretty vanilla? And then as the games are going to go about, shot clocks run down, how comfortable are you with some of that decision-making here that you've seen in practice or even some of your small scrimmages?
I think what you just brought up is one of the things I just went in the coaches, we kind of do it. We don't have as many meetings as we used to. So we stand in the hall and yell at each other with our masks on. And, I just went down the hallway and said, hey, man, who are we going to give the ball to? Who are we going to make the play, shot clock at the end of the game? We're just learning, and we haven't had even because we didn't get the scrimmage. Usually I scrimmage every 5 days, but we got to about halfway through and we couldn't scrimmage. So I don't know if you're on last week. I talked about we had Big 12 refs one day and we had to play 4-on-4, and one of those guys was a walk-on. So it's you don't have the same thing, but that's the one thing I mentioned earlier. They can make me look like a good coach if somebody steps up and makes plays, and that's something we're going to learn as we get into this week and next week.
How do you think this group has grasped the defensive concepts? Team defense, but also being able to stop somebody one-on-one. Obviously, you can minimize a lot of lack of production or mistakes on the offensive end if you can get stops on the other end.
Yeah, I would say, and I mentioned, I think on one of the earlier press conferences thing, you brought up now what's hit me is the shot clocks, end of the game, things like that, but probably the sustained defense, transition defense, sustained defense, those are the things, obviously when you had Barry and Dean and those guys, they were seniors. Mac was one of the best ball screen defenders in the country. You felt comfortable. You knew what you're going to get every day. We don't know right now. And I'm just hoping the other teams aren't prepared either. That's probably my biggest hope. That, we can survive it. And then you get film. Even the film now, we'll watch film. And it's like, was that good offense or bad defense? And it's so that's why it's always good to have those exhibitions and scrimmages, not just the experience, but also to have film to show them against somebody else, and you can focus on something. So it's going to be learning as we all go, unless you have a veteran team, and Scott Drew has COVID, and we hope he's okay. But you got a bunch of veteran guards like he does. It's a little easier to understand what's going to happen on the court.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bruce, with your bigs, what kind of versatility do you have there, and what kind do you feel like you can play a lot of different combinations, or are you pretty much going to be set with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 type?
Well, I think if you're healthy, the 5 bigs, you got Casey, Davion, Surrey, Monty, and Antonio. Hopefully get Carlton back, but I think you can use all those guys. I've talked all along that Casey and Davion give us an inside presence scoring that we haven't had in a while. And then Surrey gives you that athletic guy that can just rip and get to the basket, make some plays. He doesn't know totally what's going on all the time, but he makes plays. And then Antonio and Monte have experience, and they give you that kind of your natural 4. Monty's probably a little better defender. Antonio shot the ball a little better. So it gives you some.
Thanks.
Anything else for Coach before we let him go?
Yeah. Hey, Bruce, it's Ryan Black with Manhattan Mercury. How you doing today?
Okay.
Hey, I'm wondering, what has been the most pleasant surprise that you've noticed among the newcomers? Basically, something that you only kind of know now because you've been able to get on the court with them, as opposed to talking with them via Zoom and just looking at their recruiting videos when you were recruiting them.
I think the biggest thing is they want to learn, and they've been in here. Right now this morning, I bet there's 6 or 7 guys up in our offices or around the facility watching film with our coaches. And, some of it, this is vacation and they don't have classes. It's Thanksgiving week, but, they want to get in there and they want to learn and get better. And that you don't know until they get here. That and, just putting in that extra work. They've been, again, COVID has changed so much stuff, and they don't have much. They can't go to Aggieville, and they can't do some of the stuff that normally they would have done as students in the fall. But, they care. They want to be in here. They want to learn. They want to get better.
And then also, you know, Bruce, we kind of know where people are going to pick you guys based off last season and based off just having so many newcomers. But I mean, you know, you've been working with this group. What are your expectations for what they can accomplish this year?
Well, I think again we got to stay healthy. I think the second thing is we got to figure out who's going to be our consistent guys. If we can get consistent point production, I know we'll develop our defense. I feel like we can compete with people, and again, until they show us on the court in front of people, in front of you guys, we're not going to know much. But I like some of our weapons. I like their unity. I like how hard they work, and I like our depth. But again, we got to stay healthy, and that'll be a big factor.
Thank you, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is there anything else before I let Coach go?
I did want to mention we're doing a virtual clinic for young. We haven't been able to have camp. We haven't been able to have any clinics. Usually we do a couple of holiday clinics for the junior Wildcats and also the Fort Riley Soldiers kids. Well, we've kind of combined it. It's combined with Operation Santa Claus, which is an organization that helped bring some joy and presence to the soldiers' kids at Fort Riley. So we're going to do a virtual clinic with our players over the month of December, and the cost, all the profits will go toward, we're going to donate to Operation Santa Claus. So if you can promote that a little bit, we would greatly appreciate that. Just have our players on doing some ball handling, shooting, little challenges, some fun stuff, so bring some hope and purpose. Kids are sitting at home. They're not in classes every day. They can work on their game and get to know our players, and also we're able to bring some Christmas joy to some of the soldiers' kids. So it's Operation Santa Claus. I think it got, I don't know if Tom, you got out a release yet, but hopefully over the month of December, we'll able to get some kids on there and they'll have a fun time and learn something about basketball, and we'll be able to raise some money for Operation Santa Claus.